Greetings, Earthlings. We're here in the Earth Tools test garden. You can see our solar panels in the background, at least some of them, that power our business. But here today we're going to talk about a Broadfork, which is a tool that a lot of people are familiar with these days in organic gardening, and a swing fork, which is something that most people have never heard of. But we started importing these from our German manufacturer, SHW. They just call it a heavy 3-tine fork, but or a heavy 3-tine hoe is what they have in the catalog. But I looked at that and said, well, that's a fork that you swing. So we're going to talk a little about the physics of both tools. So if you're familiar with a Broadfork, you know that a Broadfork is an important tool for deep soil aeration and loosening first thing in the spring. To use a Broadfork correctly, you would rock it forward, step it into the ground, like so, until it's buried. The curvature of the tines makes the Broadfork handle straighten up by the time they get fully in the ground. And then you just crack the soil. Drag it back about 6 inches, repeat the process. Oops, my balance is not good today. Wiggle it around, get it fully, okay, great. So we just work our way backwards. Lifting the soil, not really turning it over, keeping the soil strata in its original position. Great tool. The Broadforks we have at Earth Tools are made by Gull & Forge in North Carolina. It's a one-man blacksmith shop. Makes the best Broadfork that we've ever found. Not too heavy. Handles made of wood for good shock absorption. Gusseted tines and actual forged true curvature tines with an actual true curvature from the top to the bottom. No steps. Great tool. Now the swing fork. So the swing fork is going to use inertia to enter the ground rather than your weight. So if I want to penetrate these tines into the ground, and the penetration depth on this is basically the same. So if you compare these two forks, you've got just as much penetration possibility on the swing fork, about a 9.5 inch tine here. And to get this into the ground fully, I go like that. So I didn't have to exert a whole lot of effort. I just let the weight of the tool bury itself in the ground. I pry it up. Actually, I should work from this side of the bed to the other. Doesn't take much of a swing. You can almost just drop the thing depending on your soil. I'm pretty tall, I'm 6'2", so I have to bend a little bit to get a good angle on this. But you can see the process. So that is going to be probably a little faster in the long run because it's wider. You're going to cover more of the bed at one time. This is narrower, you're not going to want to swing anything that heavy, so, you know, by the nature of the beast, it's going to have to be a little narrower. The other thing is, you know, if you're doing this at the pace I was doing it there, it's going to wear you out a little quicker. So I could have slowed my pace down to conserve a little more energy. Haven't been splitting wood in a while. But in terms of energy usage, the point is here that when you swing the tool and you're letting the inertia do the work, you don't have to exert as much effort or force. When I'm on this fork, I'm just exerting my whole body weight down on it to wiggle it into the ground. It doesn't take a lot of effort, but it takes the time to get it down into the ground. With this thing, like I said, you're using the inertia built up in the swing. And to compare this kind of, a good comparison, I should say, is that if you want to split a piece of firewood and you've got a splitting maul, okay, to use a splitting maul, it's the same type of thing. You swing it around like this. Or picture you take a splitting wedge, set it on top of the piece of firewood, and jump up and down on it. That's a Broadfork. Well, that's not going to get you very far. You'll never get that piece of wood open. But with the splitting maul, the inertia of swinging, say, a 6-pound head around in an arc, even with very little muscle force, the inertia of that is going to crack the wood right wide open. So the penetration force you get is amazing with this thing. And especially for working in small areas, where or rocky areas, if you've got rocks in the soil and you can't get all 5 tines of a Broadfork down in there because one of them is hitting a rock and like not penetrating, you can kind of work around the rock with a smaller, more nimble tool. We used to sell a tool called a Magna Gracia, which was a big 2-prong thing made in Italy, and those are discontinued now, but this is a very good replacement for the Magna Gracia in terms of that same type of action. Very narrow, easy to work around rocks and objects in the soil. This actually has quite a bit stronger handle than the Magna Gracia did. The Magna Gracia was kind of a square, it was a square handle interface that was about this wide, but only about that same amount tall. This is a much taller handle. It's got this great big gusset on the back, which gives you a lot of strength in order to pry up and not damage the tool handle. Now, if you're going to take this straight into sod, you know, unbroken soil, this is last year's garden soil, so it's still pretty friable. But if I'm going to take this thing into sod, like this in between, you can do it, but you're not going to try to go to full depth in one shot. That would be a little too much for the handle. But I'll work up the top and then just work my way deeper as I go along. So you actually can break up hard soil with this and sort of double dig it as such. Get the top layer, pull it back, and get down a little deeper. So it is possible to break sod on a small scale with this thing, which was really tough with the Magna Gracia because the handle, if I tried prying that hard on a Magna Gracia handle, it would just snap it. They just weren't big enough. So, the German SHW swing fork, a cool tool from Earth Tools. Thanks for watching.